Welcome to Home Sweet Home, a podcast from Compeer Home discussing the ins and outs of rural property financing. Listen to hear how the team at Compeer Home is committed to serving home buyers in rural America.
It's the Home Sweet Home podcast, July 2026. Our topic this month is Recland, and we are thrilled to be joined by Chris Allen, loan officer with Compeer Home. Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing great. Before we dive into Recland and all the fun things that we can do with that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Chris Allen, and I'm with Compeer Home. My office location is out of Lakeville, Minnesota, and I've been with Compeer for 10 years.
Very good. So our topic this month, Recland, recreational land. Tell us what Recland is and how can people use Recland?
Typically, rec land is kind of what we classified as would be like raw land, 10 acres or more. It could be wooded, it could be kind of mixed use, but recreational land is going to be typically 10 acres or more. It can be used for hunting, fishing, ATV adventures, stuff like that. It could also have some structures on it as well, like cabins, barns, sheds, things of that nature on there.
And some of this rec land, not always, but sometimes can be on water, whether it's rivers, lakes, ponds, that kind of stuff as well?
For sure, yeah. So water frontage, whether it's river or lake, all that can be part of it as well. I think a lot of people desire that sort of thing as well, as they have waterfront in Minnesota especially.
Well, you got our attention with a lot of fun activities you mentioned. So who and why should people consider buying rec land? Take us through some of that.
I think people should buy rec land. What I see out there is people want to connect with nature and family, and they just kind of want to own a piece of it for themselves. And so I'm going to have their spot that they can go to kind of spend time with those folks, kind of disconnect from the hustle and bustle of the cities and kind of get back out to nature. And so that's kind of what a lot of people are doing, whether it's hunting or fishing or camping or ATVing. I mean, the list just kind of goes on, but it's always funner to do that with people that you love. So family and friends are definitely a big part of that as people kind of go up there for the weekend and kind of do that sort of stuff.
And obviously, anyone who's a regular listener to our Home Sweet Home podcast and familiar with Compeer Home, most everything has to do with rural living, rural lifestyle, and this rec land obviously falls into that category. In terms of creating a long-term land investment, tell us, when you consider rec land in the rural areas, what that entails.
Investing, I would just say you definitely want to look for land kind of where you want to be with the activities that you want to do, kind of find something that kind of fits your needs. There's a bunch of different options out there. There's always weird little funky stuff out in the country in rural America. And just looking for something that finds your needs is going to be critical, whatever that activity is. Hunting, fishing, camping, location is kind of key to make sure you kind of have all those amenities and things that you want to do.
If someone decides now that, yes, this sounds like something I want to do, what are the first steps to take if you want to look into becoming a rec land property owner?
So the first steps are kind of knowing what you want, kind of what your needs are. I think a big, huge step is actually talking with somebody here at like Compeer Home and to get like pre-qualified to try to figure out your financing options, what you can afford. And that kind of helps you when you actually do start to look to kind of narrow down the search as far as what properties are, what they're listed for, things like that. Critically is to know what you want the land for. If it's hunting, maybe you want more woods. You want a spot that you can camp at. You want power already ran there. So kind of just knowing what you want to look for in combination with having a pre-qualification letter, I think those would be like the two biggest steps that you would want to purchase rec land at the beginning.
And do people have to concern themselves with the zoning and some of that stuff, depending, and tax structure, depending on where the land is?
I would say I don't really worry too much about taxes. I don't have a lot of questions for that. But zoning, potentially, there's a couple things that you'd want to think about, particularly if you'd want to build a structure and stuff like that on there. And that stuff is kind of city by city, county by county. So you definitely, if you're thinking about doing improvements on the land, particularly with structures, you definitely would want to inquire either with the realtor, maybe make a phone call to the local township or county just to see if there's any requirements or restrictions or things like that.
And then in regard, you mentioned financing a little bit. Can you take us a little more in depth to help us understand what financing options that is that buyers could have?
Here at Compeer Home, we kind of specialize in rural lending. Rec land is kind of one of those silos that we lend in. things that we look at doing is we have flexible down payments and we have long-term fixed rate terms with our loans. And so what you're going to see out with other lenders is sometimes they have what's called like a balloon or an arm or something like that. And we offer more safer type of financing options here at Compeer Home.
And then as you look at that, is financing rec land different than financing a home?
I mean, not really. I mean, it's the same process. I mean, we make it easy. So like a lot of other lenders, they don't like to lend on land by itself. They want like a house. And so it's pretty much the same thing. We qualify people under the same guidelines. We do everything pretty much the same. I would say that generally that you have to put more money down on raw land than you would for like a house or something like that. But everything else is pretty much the same.
Gotcha. And then from the standpoint of benefits of working with Compeer, you mentioned a few of those, but can you get more specific on that in terms of an appraisal team and loan officers like yourself and relationships with construction folks? How does that all play into it?
Yeah, Compeer, this is kind of what we specialize in. So working with us, I think, is a great first step. I mean, we do have an in-house appraisal team. Like the actual loan officers themselves have all been here for years, so we have a ton of experience. Working with Compeer, like a couple other things, we offer these things called conversions. If the rate's not the best right now, and I'm not going to like quote any rates, but we offer these things called conversions to where in the future, if the rate environment is better, we could potentially look at adjusting that interest rate without having to redo that whole loan. And so that is very unique out there and something that Compeer offers. We also are a co-op, so we do also pay out like a patronage dividend. It's like our in-house loans are serviced in-house. So I'm your loan officer. If you got a question a year down the road about something, you can call me on my cell phone. I'm going to work with you. It's just kind of like a small town feel is kind of like how Compeer Home operates.
And having interviewed you and others that work with Compeer Home and have embraced kind of that rural lifestyle, my hunch is that you and others, and I'm not saying you do or others don't, but there's a lot of you that already have rec land, so you can actually call upon personal experience, I suppose, in regard to helping people, especially those buying rec land for the first time.
Yeah, a lot of us already own some rec land. I'm still working to get my own. A lot of us are farmers. Like we're doing the same sort of things and have the same sort of dreams that our clients have. And I can definitely call us and we can point out some things. Properties are kind of individual, so each one will kind of have its own little things to kind of look at. And that's a lot of kind of what we do is to try to prepare our clients when they're looking at a property to try to maybe bring some things up that they need to think about depending on what their goals are. So.
Yeah, and we mentioned outdoors, this rec land can be so cool. Any final thoughts, closing remarks, and how can we get some more info on Compeer Home?
You can go to CompeerHome.com. That would be probably the number one stop for that. You can look where you're at, where you're buying, and find a local loan officer to connect with. Call us, ask questions. I'm on the phone all day long trying to talk through people, trying to figure out kind of what their goals are, trying to see if we can make it work from a financing standpoint. And then really when they get out to go shopping, they know that they have that credit approval and some knowledge and that they can do it more confidently and efficiently.
And for a lot of people, this becomes a dream come true, right?
It really is. I mean, people when they buy land, they don't get rid of it. When I'm doing a house loan, a lot of times people are buying and selling a house at the same time. Very rarely, if ever, are people selling their land when they're buying new land. It's just, they just keep adding to it. They always want to buy the parcel next to them. So once they get a hold of it, they want to keep it forever. And if you ever talk with anybody, they always got the best piece of land out there. It's just kind of a different mindset when you get to go purchase land versus a house, to be honest with you. It is kind of like a dream come true. So,
and I guess that would probably be one of the more satisfying parts of your work when you help organize this, help with everything in terms of financing and all this stuff. And then ultimately, I guess not literally in this case, although maybe sometimes it is, you hand them the keys and they've got this great stuff. They're either going to ATV or fish or hunt or camp or what have you. That's got to be a satisfying position that you're in to watch people have those dreams come true.
It is. No, it's super fun. And I like to get all the hunting pictures each fall for some clients and colleagues and people. If they buy a new piece of land to kind of what they got to hunt, like the deer pictures and stuff like that. It's definitely a very fun part of my job. It is to help people figure that out. So.
Yeah, very good. Let me give the website one more time. CompeerHome.com is the general website specific to Recland. You can go to CompeerHome.com/Recland, RECLAND. And the phone number, 833-986-8001, 833-986-8001. Recland, our topic on the Home Sweet Home podcast for July 2026. Chris Allen, loan officer, is our guest. Chris, great